It's important. And today we are eager to hear talk about how you can beat your inner critic. On a scale of 1 to 10, how comfortable are you guys with speaking up in front of a room full of people, either in person or virtually? So I know some of you answered yesterday, but let's just get those answers back in the chat again on a level of 1 to 10. How comfortable are you speaking in person or virtually? You how to push past your comfort zone and speak up. Despite starting out as a shy computer programmer who hid behind her computer because she was too self conscious, Mary went on to become the 2009 World Champion of Public Speaking, second place winner out of 25,000 contestants from 14 countries. She is a TEDx speaker and a transformational public speaking trainer and coach, and has trained over 20,000 people in 30 countries from around the world, including those in Australia, Europe, Asia, Canada, and the United States. She is also the best-selling author of the book, Present Yourself in Public Speaking, Tell Your Inner Critic to Shut Up and the Real You to Speak Up. So get ready to transform the way you think about speaking. Please give a warm welcome to Mary Cheyne.
Thank you, Olivia. Give me one moment while I share my screen. All right. Well, welcome everyone to this little talk that I've put together for you in the limited time that I have. Is called Bypass Your Inner Critic, How to Speak Up as Your Authentic Self Without Feeling Like an Imposter. So why speak up as your authentic self? There's a bunch of reasons, and here are a couple. And as I go through them, I want you to see for yourself if you resonate with this, okay? So wouldn't it be great if you could just be your authentic self in your career and still be recognized for what you contribute, to be seen as valuable, to be promoted as your authentic self, and making more money just by being you? How many of you would love to make more money? Go ahead and type in the chat if you would love to make more money and be recognized at your jobs. Fantastic. Yes, 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 yes. And when you can speak up with confidence as your authentic self, because you're just tired of pretending. It's like, how many of you have ever experienced being in a meeting room? Now, as if you were here yesterday, you would have heard me talk a little bit about this. There's many forms of speaking, right? I'm not just talking about being in a presentation. I'm not just talking about formally speaking. It's also one-on-one with your boss, or speaking up in a conference meeting or in a Zoom meeting, or running or facilitating a meeting, being in a job interview, networking, building relationships. Any kind of speaking that you do is a form of public speaking. But how many of you have ever pretended to have more confidence than you had, that you felt on the inside, right? And you're tired of it. You don't want to do that anymore. You're tired of holding yourself back. Maybe you're feeling one way and you're showing up and having to put on a mask, and you're feeling a completely different way. So being your authentic self will allow you don't have to be hiding anymore, and free to express yourself whenever you want to. This is really some of the benefits of what it's like to have be very comfortable with being in your authentic self, right? So what this session is really all about is to have you consciously be aware of how to draw the line when you've had enough of not being your true self, and to be really comfortable in your own skin. And that's what it's all about, to be comfortable in your own skin, okay? I'm curious to know if you could type in the chat, how many of you were here yesterday when I was speaking yesterday, and you actually heard my talk yesterday? So type in the chat yes or no. This is for my own curiosity, so I know what to address. And okay, yes, 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 many of you were here, unable to make it. Okay, so most of you were here, and some of you were not. Okay, just to be expected. Thank you. So to acknowledge you for being here, I have a gift for you. Noelle, if you could post this link into the chat for everybody. If you were here yesterday listening to the talk before the networking session, you'll know that I also gave you a gift. This is a different gift. Okay, yesterday it was about the top 3 myths of speaking and how to debunk them. This is really a summary of the different examples. I've worked with many people over the years of what the most common inner critic voices are in speaking and preventing you from being your authentic self, so that you can really like a cheat sheet. It's like a cheat sheet. So I would highly recommend you download that. And because some of you weren't here yesterday, I'm going to just give you a brief example of where I began. And for those of you who were here, you'll hear it again. So I used to be a computer programmer many years ago, and I used to hide behind my desk. I was extremely self-conscious. I was very timid to speak up. There'd be a meeting, an hour would go by where I wouldn't say a word. I was very socially awkward. Now it's been a long time, and over a decade ago, I competed in a contest called the World Championship of Public Speaking in 2019, and out of 25,000 contestants from 14 countries, I came in second place. And I've been a transformational public speaker, trainer, and coach for many years. And to date, I've trained over 20,000 people from 30 cities around the world. I'm also the best-selling author of this book and the founder of the Shine Mentorship Program, been on many publications and spoken on many podcasts, and I'm also a TEDx speaker. So I tell you this so that you know where I came from and you see where I began my journey of transformation. It's like the word transformation I use very intentionally, because it's like, you know, when a caterpillar goes into a cocoon state and then it comes out a butterfly. So you can ask yourself, when it comes out as a butterfly, is it the same creature as when it was a caterpillar? Right? There's this period of metamorphosis within the cocoon, which it goes through, where it sheds its old self and comes out from the cocoon as its new self. And that process of transformation within the cocoon is really the work that I do with people, is to really have you come out of that cocoon and look back and go, I don't even recognize myself. So to me, why I'm sharing this with you is, think of your authentic self as the butterfly that's wanting to emerge, waiting to emerge from you. No matter what level you're at, there's that next level that I want you to get to in your life, that I refer to as your authentic self. So here's the deal. We only have a very short time together here today, before we break out into the networking session. I promise you, I'm going to give you as much as I can during this session. At the end, when we come back from the networking session, I'm going to give you an opportunity to continue working with me and invite you to a group session, which I think you'll be very happy about. So make sure you stay till the end for that. I want you to think about this question. What blocks you from being your authentic self? We just heard a talk on imposter syndrome, right? But what blocks you from being your authentic self? I'd like to see your answers in the chat. There's no right or wrong here. Just what comes up. What's the first thing that comes up to your mind when I say, hey, do you always express yourself authentically? And if the answer is no, why? Okay, Joanna says judgment, corporate culture, fear of voice cracking, perfection, self-consciousness, fear of judgment, fear of standing out, self-doubt, society, not knowing how to be transparent, fear of offending someone, company policy, boundaries, lack of self-confidence, self-consciousness, self-esteem, expectations, no support. These are great answers, guys. Thank you so much for being transparent. I hope as you're seeing these answers, I hope you're starting to see that you can probably relate to a lot of these, I'm imagining, because I work with a lot of people and these are very, very common answers. So thank you for being transparent and sharing that. Inner critic, perfectionism, awesome. So this is the cover of my book, and I want to highlight a couple of things on there, right? The subtitle is The Real You. Tell your inner critic to shut up, send the real you to speak up. So the real you is what I would refer to as your authentic self. And then what I want to look at with you is the barriers. What are the barriers that are preventing you from being your real self? And the inner critic is one strong element that I really focus on when I work with people, which I believe is the barrier between you, who you think you are, how you've been relating to yourself in the past, and who you really actually are in the core. Okay. So what is the problem? What is missing with traditional speaking? And as I said earlier and yesterday, this is the public speaking jigsaw puzzle, but there are many forms of public speaking, right? Speaking up as your authentic self. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pieces that we must address in order for us to be able to speak up powerfully and confidently as your authentic self. Okay, so let's look at each of these in a little bit more detail. In the upper right hand quadrant, so if you think of this as in totality, if you want to be a confident speaker, we must address each piece of these 5 pieces in the public speaking jigsaw puzzle and what they mean. Very high level, as I said, we don't have a lot of time. Very high levels content is what you're talking about. What is your topic? What is your, when you open your mouth and you share, whether it's in a 30-second share within a meeting, or you're facilitating a meeting, you're having a one-on-one conversation with your boss, your coworker, or it's a 1-hour formal presentation to the CEO of your company, doesn't matter, and everything in between, right? What is it that's coming out of your mouth? What is your point that you're trying to share? What is the message that you're trying to convey? Does it flow correctly? Is there a logical flow to it? Is there a strong opening? Is there a strong ending? Is it engaging? Are you using case studies? Are you using examples? All of these things are included in the quadrant known as content. Okay. The bottom right hand corner is delivery. Each one of you, I can guarantee, has a different delivery style. Okay, so whether you speak, how you speak, your voice, whether you're animated, how do you take yourself so seriously, your personality, is it shining through, your experience, all of this is going to culminate in the way you deliver things. Okay, you deliver your talk. Traditionally speaking, the right hand side of the public speaking jigsaw puzzle is mostly what speaking education focuses on. The outer world, the mechanics of speaking, right? And what's missing really is this second half of the public speaking jigsaw puzzle, which I refer to your inner world, your mindset. So how you feel about yourself, how confident you are, how you relate to yourself, the beliefs you have about yourself, the limiting self-beliefs that you have about yourself, your attitudes, what's holding you back. Do you feel worthy? The fear of judgment, all these things that are barriers to your authentic self is what we really need to address. I have a 2-day boot camp that I run, and the first day we completely focus on the inner world, because this, my friends, is really what we need to address in order for you to prevent you from having the imposter syndrome or feeling like you're not worthy of being there. Okay. And then day 2, of course, we come back and we address the mechanics that equally as needed, and also to have fun, right? Part of the inner world is your attitude of, hey, let's have fun with this. Hey, let's not take myself too seriously. And of course, these days with COVID, I also run the boot camp online as well as hybrid, which is in online as well as socially distanced. So my question to you is, what is your biggest strength when it comes to speaking? When it comes to speaking up as your authentic self, what is your biggest strength? Go ahead and type in the chat. What do you feel your biggest strength is? Either you know you have, or somebody else has told you is your strength when you speak. What is that? Voice projection, storytelling, my presence, looking confident, relating to others. I can connect with the audience. Okay, visionary, being real, technology prepared. Great. These are wonderful strengths. Okay. My next question to you, what if I was to ask you, what are your 50 strengths? If I was to ask you, list 50 of your strengths in speaking, what comes up for you? What is your immediate reaction in your mind? Go ahead and share that. What do you notice come up for you when I ask that question? I don't have 50. I can fake it. I could like list 3, preparation. Okay, 50 is too many. Right, thank you. I run a lot of different events and I ask this question of a lot of people, and that's usually what comes up. Okay, so I want to introduce you now to somebody who you've known for a very long time, except you may not even realize that this person exists. But if you first know who this person is and then develop a deep relationship with this person, it's going to make all the difference between you feeling confident enough to speak up as your authentic self or hiding. Okay. And this person is called your little voice, also known as your internal dialogue, your incessant chatter. Okay, you ready? I'm gonna introduce you now to your little voice. Please meet your little voice now. If you just tuned in, there's nothing wrong with your audio. I'm just not saying anything right now. If you're hearing that little voice, that internal dialogue, what little voice? What is she talking about? Is that the little voice? That, my friends, is your internal chatter. And that is what I'm trying to pinpoint. Okay. So my question to you, when you are outside your comfort zone, remember we talked about going outside your comfort zone yesterday, is your little internal chatter voice usually saying something positive and empowering to you? Or is it usually a little bit more disempowering? What do you think? Right, type into the chat. What do you think? Positive or negative when you're outside your comfort zone? Yes, it's negative. Okay. And so really the little voice, I'm not the only person who's ever talked about this. Amy Poehler, who's a comedian, she calls it her demon voice. Brene Brown calls it gremlins. In case you're not aware of what a gremlin is, it was a movie from the 1980s, and they had cute little creatures, but if you feed them after midnight, they turn into these gremlins. Here's a visual. This is what a gremlin looks like. Like, this is a great analogy because inside your mind, this is what the little voice does. And it's not because out of coincidence. There's a reason. It wants to keep you safe. It wants to keep you comfortable, right? And so how is the inner critic relevant to speaking up as your authentic self? It's really the pink elephant in the room. We have to address it, okay? It's wonderful that there's a lot of research on imposter syndrome, and we saw that in the previous talk, and that's really fantastic. But what I want to focus on is how do we bring all of those elements and have it be practical? How can you apply it? What are the tools you can use that's simple that you can apply every single day in your life so that you can really be who you are and speak up and not have any hesitation in being your authentic self? So what I'm talking about here is bypassing your inner critic. The key word here, guys, is bypassing. Okay, not killing your inner critic, not bashing your inner critic, not shoving it into the corner, not getting rid of it, not inner critic-ectomy, right? I don't even think that's possible, because as human beings with a conditioned mind, we have an inner critic, and it's there for a reason. So bypassing it is a very deliberate, intentional word that I choose. It's like a river. It's like there's a boulder right in the middle of the river. The water's not going to try and get rid of the rock. It's going to go around the rock, right? And that's what I want you to do with your inner critic, is to bypass your inner critic. As Bruce Lee says, be water, my friends, right? For those of you who've seen my TEDx talk, it's called The Hidden Power of Bruce Lee that we all have. Bypass your inner critic. So how do we do that? All right. For those of you who are like tangible formulas, here it is. Comes out of my book. It's A+A is the formula that I want you to use to bypass your inner critic. The first A stands for awareness. Awareness of what? Awareness of the inner chatter in real time as it's coming up for you in real time. And then the second part of the formula is to take the action. For example, let's say you're sitting in a Zoom room, okay, with your peers, with your superiors, at work, and then they're talking about this topic and you want to chime in. Maybe you want to ask a question. And just as you're about to ask the question, the little voice jumps in and goes, the inner critic voice jumps in and goes, wait, don't ask the question yet, because what if you're supposed to know the answer? Then you're going to look stupid. Maybe that's what it's saying, right? In that moment, you go, aha, there it is. There's my inner critic. It's saying something to me. As soon as you're aware of it, a space gets created, a gap. And then from that space, you can then choose. And this action in this example is, excuse me, I have a question here. I'm going to ask this question. So that's what the formula looks like when you're going to actually apply it. So as we go into this breakout session, I want you to start noticing your little voice, your inner chatter, whatever it's saying. And this is a lifelong practice, but now you have something tangible to take away with you, A+A, which you need to apply in order for it to be effective, so that you're no longer allowing the barriers to get in the way of your authentic self speaking up. Is this making sense, guys? Go ahead and type in the chat. A+A. Fantastic. Yes. Quick example, and then I'll let you guys go into the breakout session. I was speaking at a conference, and afterwards there were some people that approached me, and I'm going to give you 3 examples so you know how this can apply in your life. this one HR, she was a woman that worked for in the HR department in a health company. She asked me to come and train her first-time managers in the getting rid of the little voice. Okay. Another group asked me, it was a software group, asked me to go into the company and train their professional development group for women who were software trainers. So there's another application. And then yet another group came up to me, and it was a engineering company, asked me to come and train their sales staff, right? So I just wanted to give you these examples. It's a variety of different areas, but the whole point is everyone, no matter what position they're in, have in common that they're human beings. And so long as you're human beings, your inner critic voice is going to be there, and we need to be able to bypass it. Okay, you're not the only one. So I'm going to pass the floor back to Olivia, and then we'll come back after the networking session and I'll close up.
Thank you, Mary. Definitely some really great advice and thoughts. Really appreciate it.